NBC's Dasha Burns reports from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, where Donald Trump is set to speak this hour. Eddie Glaude is back with us, and I want to bring in former Republican Congressman from Florida, David Jolly. So, Dasha, Donald Trump is already fundraising off President Biden's comments. He's comparing it to Hillary Clinton's basket of deplorables remark. What can you tell us?
Yeah, we've already seen fundraising emails. His allies, his campaign staff, his running mate, they are all over this. I mean, look, the campaign really sees this as a gift, given that for about 48 hours there, they were in major cleanup mode after that comics racist jokes at the Madison Square Garden rally. In fact, the comments from President Biden came during an event in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where the Trump campaign invited Puerto Rican supporters. They invited Florida Senator Marco Rubio to try to rally Latino support, Puerto Rican support. This is a demographic they've been targeting for quite some time. So this comics comments were terrible timing and was not what the campaign wanted. And then they got this gift from President Biden, and he tried to clean up those comments, but the Trump campaign has been pouncing on them. In fact, in the middle of that event in Allentown, Marco Rubio got back up on stage and told the former president in real time about what we heard from President Biden, and then former President Trump reacted. Listen.
Remember Hillary? She said deplorable. And then she said irredeemable, right? But she said deplorable. That didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right? But he doesn't know. You have to please forgive him. Please forgive him, for he not knoweth what he said.
Now, remember, the former president, of course, himself has insulted Democrats. Supporters of Vice President Kamala Harris had said whether it's Jewish people or black people who vote for Harris should have their head examined. But the Harris campaign and Harris herself has been very, very careful not to lob insults at Trump supporters. So this is a tough one for the Harris campaign, and certainly something that the Trump campaign is hoping can pivot the news cycle and the headlines away from him and towards the Harris campaign. Chris.
Thank you so much for that, Dasha. Congressman Politico put the moment like this, quote, "If you're Harris, you don't want the tenor of your final days on the campaign trail to be distracted by a fateful apostrophe. No matter where you put that apostrophe, it's a distraction for Harris going into the final 6 days." Do you think that's the net effect? Does it undermine or distract from her closing argument?
I don't think so, for a very simple reason. Joe Biden's not on the ballot. And I understand the connection between Biden and Harris. But look, I think the president's explanation is incredibly plausible. We know his age. We all saw him in Atlanta. We know the stammer that he struggles with. I believe that, particularly then when he issued the statement later, that he didn't mean what he said and what's being reported. But secondly, if you're offended by it, don't vote for Joe Biden. Don't vote for Joe Biden. And that's not hard, because the two candidates next week are Vice President Harris and Donald Trump. And in that contrast, we know Vice President Harris last night said, "I want everybody at my table." This morning said, "I would never insult supporters of Donald Trump or any political candidate." And on the other side of that choice is Donald Trump, who hosted the rally at Madison Square Garden where the original racist comments were actually made. I actually think this is a bigger issue than just the Latino or Puerto Rican community, a community that's certainly not monolithic, because, Chris, I think the last persuadable voters are Republicans. And it's Republicans who don't like the tenor of Donald Trump. They don't like the racist comments, the flirtation with racism. Perhaps Joe Biden's comments give them reason for pause. But I think this whole issue shines a light on the culture of Donald Trump and his campaign. And I think it reminds those disaffected Republican voters why they just don't want to go back to Donald Trump.
And, you know, Eddie, J.D. Vance called Biden's comment, quote, disgusting. But it was just on Monday when Vance said this about not just the comedian's racist remarks, but there were a lot of otherwise offensive remarks at that rally. Here, take a listen to what he said.
I think that we have to stop getting so offended at every little thing in the United States of America. I'm so over it.
Eddie, it doesn't seem like he's taken his own advice.
You know, Chris, it just annoys the hell out of me. Right? I understand the politics. David is absolutely right. I get it. But these are folks who think that they can say anything. They can behave in the most horrifying ways. They can degrade and demean communities. They can scapegoat Haitians in Springfield. They can call entire communities, right, murderers and the like. And then when someone calls them, on what they're saying, they clutch their damn pearl. And it's part of this ongoing grievance that somehow the rest of the country looks down on them. And so it feeds into that logic. I understand the politics. I understand what Vice President Harris has to say. But these folk think they can say and do anything and be as insulting and as mean-spirited as they want to be. And when they're called out about it, they clutch their pearls. It's a kind of hypocrisy that's mind-numbing, and it rhetorically handcuffs us. We don't need to call people deplorables or despicable or garbage, but we need to call them out on their nonsense and their hatred.
The thing is, Eddie, having been at that rally and talked to lots and lots and lots of voters, at least the people I spoke to, and from what I saw and heard on that stage for 5.5 hours, they actually believe that that is what will help them win.
You're absolutely right. It's been a long-standing strategy, Chris. That is to say that Donald Trump's campaign believes that there are more white, non-voting white people in the country than there are on the other side. And his whole idea, his whole strategy since 2016 is to turn out low-propensity white voters. And the strategy has always been to turn them out by turning up grievance, by turning up fear, by turning up hatred. And so the Madison Square Garden rally, harkening back to 1939, had a political purpose in terms of firing up his base. It just backfired in some ways. But I think, again, we have to understand what he's doing, what the folks are around him are doing, and call it out for what it is.
And I think, Congressman, this topic of alienating supporters, Nikki Haley actually talked about this on Fox, and she warned the Trump campaign, which she supports, by the way. Take a listen.
I mean, this bromance and this masculinity stuff, I mean, it borders on edgy to the point that it's going to make women uncomfortable. You know, you've got affiliated PACs that are doing commercials about calling Kamala the C word, or you had speakers at Madison Square Gardens, you know, referring to her and her pimps. That is not the way to win women. That is not the way to win people who are concerned about Trump style.
Where's that message landing, or is it?
I don't know that anybody believes anything Nikki Haley says, because as a woman, she's supporting this movement, Chris. I mean, this is just absurd that Nikki Haley somehow publicly has it both ways every time she has an opportunity. She could condemn it. She could say, I'm not supporting it. I'm not supporting the movement. I'm not supporting Donald Trump. And also, you know, part of Joe Biden's comments that weren't in the clip was he also was bringing up this idea that you drive through parts of the country and there are signs that say F Joe Biden. My own children, I make sure they're not looking. They're not asking me, what does that sign say? There are pictures of people holding up the middle finger towards Joe Biden. Joe Biden himself as president was saying, who are we as a people that we've gotten to where this is acceptable? I think the contrast between rational, sober voters is very clear. And I think you saw it last night from Vice President Harris. And all of this, as Eddie says, pearl clutching from Republicans right now. They're just doing Republican things, but people see through it. They see through Nikki Haley, they see through J.D. Vance, and they certainly see through Donald Trump.